Now, welcome back. We are now on our fourth topic, which is the business plan. And basically what we will be looking at is the introduction. Here we are going to define the term business plan, the benefits of a business plan. We'll also look at the qualities of a business plan, and what we'll cover in details are the components of a business plan. And finally, we will look at the obstacles or the barriers of implementation of a business plan. This is something which never misses in an exam setup. So I hope that we'll all be careful. Now we'll start with the introduction. With the introduction, we are going to define the term a business plan. And a business plan is a document that describes the goals and the objectives of the business and clearly states how and when they will be achieved. Yes, I've said a business plan is a document that describes the goals and the objectives of the business and clearly states how they will be achieved. Now let us look at the benefits of a business plan. Why do you find that the business people do have a business plan? So it must have its own benefits. So benefits of a business plan. The first one is, the first benefit is that it is a financial tool. Meaning that if you have a business plan, you can use this business plan to acquire loans from the banks, because whenever you walk into a bank and you say that I want to start up a business, or even if it is a continuing business, what the bank will ask you is that you provide your business plan. So this business plan is usually, it acts as a financial tool that provides information if one wants to acquire a loan. The second benefit is that it tests ideas on paper. The third one is that it is a blueprint or guideline. It means that if you have a business plan, you'll be using it as a point of reference throughout when you will be implementing your business plan. So you will always be referring to whether you are still sticking to what you had intended to achieve or you've gone outside the goal. Another one is that it indicates the owner's ability and commitment. When we say that it indicates the owner's ability and commitment, when we will be looking at the components of a business plan, one of the components is usually about the business description. And under the business description, we are going to look at who are the owners of the company. When we'll be looking at the owners of the company, we'll be looking at their qualifications and the skills. This will guide us to, this can help us to know if these owners of the business are committed or do they have the necessary capability. Also, it establishes the financial need of the business and suggests the possible sources of financing. And also, when we'll be looking at the components of a business plan, one of the components is usually about the financial plan. With here, we'll be looking at how much do we need to start up the business, or how much do we need to implement the strategy. So if we don't have the enough finances, we can come up with other ways of financing the business. So those are some of the benefits of a business plan, and I've said that it is a financial tool that provides information of if one wants to acquire a loan. The second one is that it tests ideas on paper. It's also a blueprint or the guideline. It indicates the owner's ability and commitment. And finally, it establishes the financial needs of a business and also suggests the possible sources of financing. Now let us look at the qualities of a good business plan. Qualities of a good business plan. And our reference is November 2019, question number 3B, sorry. So the first one is about simplicity. So the qualities of a good business plan, I've said the first one is about the simplicity and clarity. And when I say that it's about it should be simple and clear, this is in order to attract and motivate the reader. For it to attract and motivate the reader is that it needs to be very simple and clear. You need to go direct to the point. The second one is about the brevity, is that it should always be brief and straight to the point. Another quality is that it's supposed to be logic, in that the ideas should follow one another in a logical sequence, in that paragraphs should be connected. And also when you talk about the truth, is that one needs to be frank and not overstate the fact. The fact that maybe you will need that business plan, for example, to acquire some loans. In here, you need to be very truthful. If, for example, how you acquired the figures, you need to state which method or which procedure did you come up with the estimates. And finally is that you need to use the figures, in that the words are supposed to be backed by the figures, especially when you are preparing the financial plan. So those are the qualities of a good business plan. And the first one I've said, simplicity and clarity, brevity, logic, truth, and the use of figures. Now let us look at the components of a business plan. Yes, if you're going to prepare a business plan, we don't usually have a format of preparing a business plan, but there are some things which you don't need to leave out. So the first component is usually about the executive summary. And we talk of the executive summary. Remember that this is usually the first thing which should appear in your business plan. With here, you are just giving us the important points that will be contained in each paragraph. In each chapter, for example, it should under the executive summary, you will indicate the business description just in briefly, because you are going to capture it in detail. Also, you need to indicate the marketing plan. Also, production and operation plan. We'll also indicate the financial plan. And finally, the risk management. So this is the executive summary. It's basically the overview of what you are going to capture in your business plan. Remember, I've said that it usually appears as in the first paragraph of your business plan. The second component is about the business description. And when you talk about the business description, with here we look at the background of the owner, the business location and the address, the form of ownership, the type of business, the products and the services, and finally, the industry. I've said under the business description, these are some of the things which we are going to cover. When we talk about the background of the owner, with here we want to know what the owners of the business, including their skills and the qualifications. Remember when we were talking about the benefits of a business plan, we say that it usually indicates if the owner's ability and the commitment. So under the background of the owner, we indicate their skills and the qualifications. Again, under the location and the address, you want to know where the business is based. And at the form of business, you want to know if it is a joint venture, whether it is partnership, it is sole proprietorship, or it is a limited company. Also, under the type of business, what we want to know under the type of business is whether we want to know if it is a startup or it is a continuing business. Also, we want also to know which products and services is this business offering. So the third component is about the marketing plan. The marketing plan, and here we want to know who are the customers or who are our prospective customers, the market share or size, the competition, advertisement, promotion and advertisement, the pricing strategy, and distribution strategy. Yes, when we talk about the market plan, when we talk about the customers, we want to know who are our current customers or who are our potential customers if it is a startup, for example. Also, understanding our customers will ensure that we are coming up with a product or a service which is satisfying the needs of our customers. The other one is about the market share of the size. In regards to the market share, how much are we commanding in terms of how much are we make, how many we want to know how amount of units of sales which are doing in a single day or in a month or in a year. Also, when we're looking at the competition, we want to know who are our competitors. When we go to know who are our competitors, it will help us to differentiate our products better. And also, this will ensure that we are tackling the competition in a better way. Another one is about the promotion and advertisement. With here, we want to know the method in which we are going to promote our products, whether we are going to use the electronic media, for example, by using to advertise via the TVs or social media, or are we going to use the billboards and so on forth. Also, when we talk about the pricing strategy, here we are trying to come up with the methods in which we are going to price our products. Remember that we have various ways in which you can come up with a price. One of it is usually, an example is the cost plus method. We can use the marginal pricing strategy and all that. And also in regards to the distribution and strategy, we want to know how these products are going to reach our customers. So this is what we are going to look at when we are preparing the marketing plan. Also, the fourth one is the organizational and management plan. So the fourth one is the organizational and management plan. Our reference is on May 2017. Question number 1B, May 2017. Question number 1B, we'll go and look at that question. Under the organizational and management team, we want to know who are the people in charge of the management. In that, also we'll look at who are the managers, what are their roles, what are their responsibilities and duties. Also, we look at other personnel because, of course, if we are going to start up a business, in as much as we have the people who are in charge of the who are the managers, we also need the subordinate staff. How are we going to recruit this? How are we going to recruit these subordinate staff? The moment we've recruited them, we also need to pay them. So we need to come up with a remuneration strategy and also the promotional strategy. Also, under the organizational and management, we'll also be looking, remember that for us to operate a business, we need the licenses and the permits. So we also need to know how we are going to acquire the necessary permits and the license. So I've said under organizational management, look at the management team. Also other personnel. Recruitment, training, and promotion. Remuneration and incentives. Also about the licenses and permits. Yes, I'm going to repeat. I've said under the organizational and management, we'll be looking. The first thing is that when we are preparing our business plan is to look at the management team. In regards to the management team, remember that we will be having various managers who will be in charge of the various departments. Also, when we look, in as much as we have the managers in charge, we also need other subordinate staff, which in this case we are calling them other personnel in the organization. And under the other personnel, remember that for us to get these people, we need to do the recruitment, the training, and then in terms of the promotion, how are we going, which method are we going to do in recruitment? For example, are we going to use the referral method or are we going to do the adverts? The moment we've gotten these people, how are we going to train them how are we going to cater for their training needs? And finally, how are we going to promote them? So the moment that we have these people in the organization, remember that we have to pay them. We need to come up with a remuneration or the pay structure. And finally, the licenses and the permits, which we will need for us to operate the business. So after the organizational and management plan, the fifth one is about the production and operation plan. Under the production and operational plan, we are going to look at the production facilities and the capacity. In this one, we are going to look at the types of facilities which are required and list of all the equipment, machinery, and show the cost of each. And also we need to show the cost of each equipment. And also, we'll also look at the production strategy. With here, we look at the methods used to produce the product. You describe the product development process from the idea to sellable product or service. Also indicate the cost of which and the cost that you will incur when you're developing a new product. Also, what kind of methods will we use when we are doing the production? And finally, describe the products or the materials which we will need for the production for this example. And again, what you will need to know is that in as much as that we'll need this raw material, we need to identify who will be our suppliers. Also, when we look at the production process, we'll showcase the stages in producing the product, the production materials involved in the production process, and also what are other external factors that are likely to affect our production process. Subside under the production. I'm going to repeat. Under the production stroke operation plan, I've said the first thing that you look at is the production facilities and the capacity. And I've said that we are going to look at the types of facilities which will be required. Also, the list of all the equipment and the machinery, and also the cost of each equipment or the machinery. And also, we'll have to come up and remember that these machineries can fail or it can get damaged. So with there, we'll need to come up with the plans of repairs and the maintenance of the machinery. So under the production strategy, we'll come up with the methods. We'll be looking at the methods of producing the product. With there, we'll describe the production development from idea to the sellable product or the services. And also we indicate the cost that will incur when you are developing the new product. Under the production process, we'll showcase the stages in producing the product or service, and also the production materials involved and the production process. So under the production affecting operation, we will be looking at the health regulations, These are the requirements of the public health will be adhered to in handling all the company products. Also, we'll look at the safety measures which need to be put in place. And finally, the environmental regulations. So under the production operation plan, especially if you will be dealing, if you are coming up with a manufacturing plan, these are some of the things which you'll need to adhere to. I think I saw a question which was asking on the same. We'll have to go through your past papers. Now let us look at our sixth plan, which is the financial plan. The financial plan. Yes, under the financial plan, these are some of the things which we will be looking at, and we'll start with the pre-operational costs. This is the amount of the cost which will be incurred before we start the business. Remember that for before we start the business, there's some cost which will be incurred, which we'll have to incur. So how much do we need before we start the business? That is what we call the pre-operational cost. So when we talk about the pro forma balance sheet, remember that we have not yet started the business, but we are just doing a projection. And the balance sheet usually shows the assets and the liabilities of the company. We'll also prepare the working capital, and the working capital is usually the current assets minus the current liabilities. This is the difference between our current assets and the current liabilities. We'll also prepare a cash flow projection. And a cash flow projection, this is simply how much are we expecting to get and how much are we expecting to spend. So this is the cash flow is usually the difference between the money in and the money out. So finally, we'll talk about the break-even analysis, and this is where the total revenue is usually equal to the total cost. This is whereby the business will not be making any profit or it's not making any loss. So we need to know at what point are we supposed to have break-even. So our last one is about the risk management. Last component is the risk management. The risk management. Remember that if we are going to operate the business, remember that we can be faced with a number, of risks. You can never say that you are going to evade any. As long as you are in business, you must face some risks. So one of the risks which can face the business is about the financial risk, operational risk, or any other risk. Maybe you've been denied a license. See, some of the risks which can face the business is the financial risk, operational risk, maybe laws and regulational risk. Yes, we have a number of risks which can base a business, but I'm going to classify them. When we talk about the financial risk, Maybe when you are preparing your business plan, you had indicated that one source of capital or one way of which you are going to obtain capital is maybe by acquiring some loans. Remember that you are not 100% guaranteed that you can be given that loan. So what will happen in case you are denied the loan? Maybe your credit is not that good, so the bank denies you or gives you a lesser amount. And when we talk about the operational risk, maybe the moment we started the business that is ongoing, we have a chances of maybe we might lose this. We might lose key personnel in the business, or we might lose a major customer or a major client, a major customer or a major supplier, and so forth. When you talk about the laws and regulations, maybe the government can introduce some regulations which is affecting our business. And I'll give an example of the people who are in the paper manufacturing. Remember that NEMA introduced the law whereby banning the use of plastic paper bags. So in such kind of, those are some of the risks which can face the business. So you find that in as much as you are identifying this kind of risks, you need also to come up with the mitigation measures. First, that in case you are faced with any type of a risk, how are you going to overcome the risk? Maybe when it comes to financial risk, you might come up with alternatives of which you can acquire the financing. When it comes to operational risk, maybe you have a backup in case you lose a major client or you lose a major supplier, you have a backup and so forth. So that is the end of our business plan. Sorry, we'll also have to look at the obstacles of a business plan. Obstacles or barriers of implementing a business plan. Remember that we might be having a very good business plan, but if we don't have the necessary resources, for example, or good leadership, we might not end up implementing the business plan. And this question was tested in November 2020, question number 2B. The first obstacle is about lack of leadership. Remember that for us to implement this business plan, we need the top management to support us and to lead, to give, to guide, to motivate, and even also providing the necessary resources. So if they don't provide the necessary leadership, the business plan might end up failing. The second one is about excessive distractions. Excessive distractions might be an issue, because you may find that a leader, in as much as you have a very good business plan, but you may find that a leader is trying to implement too many things at a go, and the team is confused about the priorities. Another one is about the limited manpower. Remember that some business plans might require a large number of employees or a large number of people who will be working. And if we don't have enough people to be working, it might affect the implementation of a business plan. Remember that in as much as you might wish to hire more staff to work for us, remember that that is another cost which maybe the organization is not able to bear at that time. Another one is about inadequate planning and resources. Inadequate resources in funding. So you find that lack of resources can impact marketing, for example, talent acquisition, and coming up with new distribution programs. For us to do all those things, we need enough funding. Another one is impractical business plan. Might find that maybe you've come up with a business plan which is not practical or it is not achievable. So at the end of it, in as much as we really wish to implement, it is not going as per what you had planned earlier. So that is the end of our fourth topic, which is the business plan. See you in the next class.